The great thing about watching your favorite content creator or favorite athlete is over time, you get to see them change, and hopefully for the better. If you watch LeBron James since 2003, you've gotten to see his progression as an NBA player. Things that he was weak at, eventually he got better. The same thing with Patrick Mahomes. But we've also seen the flip side of somebody crashing out. Let's use Antonio Brown for an example. One of the greatest route runners in NFL history destroys his career from doing nothing, just crashing out all the time, despite getting numerous opportunities to play professional football. But in the same light, YouTubers have also crashed out. EDP445 is one, and Freshandfit is another. The so-called logical and intellectual power of the two. Once a fan favorite podcast across the United States, these guys have become the most hated in every way, especially Myron. And this is not because of controversial takes. This is because Myron has either told the line or crossed the line with hate speech, with many groups, in particular blacks.
You guys want to know why the black community behaves like this? Because it's run by women. That's another ugly ass truth. The black community is a matriarchy, which is why it's failed for decades upon decades upon decades.
Now, recently, Myron Gaines went on to Piers Morgan, and there was a controversial debate. And of course, he mentioned Tariq Nasheed in a very pejorative way.
Important to understand the entire context of what led us to this position, because again, Metcalf and Hendricks is a microcosm of a much larger problem. Earlier, we were talking about tribalism when you were mentioning Nick Fuentes' tweet. Here's the thing. Black people could be as tribal as they want to be. You have people like Tariq Nasheed, Dr. Umar Johnson running around about black power and marry black women and keep it in the hood and all this other stuff. But if white people assemble and say, you know what, white power, we need to keep our nation white, they're immediately ostracized and labeled as supremacists, and they get banned off every single platform. I find that interesting.
Now, to be honest, the FBA community is not the only community that Myron talks about. He talks about anybody that he feels can get views, most notably from X, since he's demonetized on YouTube. In fact, they're demonetized many different places. YouTube, Facebook, sometimes Twitch. It doesn't matter. They've lost all of their financial fortunes. But despite the fact, Freshandfit are still going forth, basically humiliating themselves and talking bad about black people. But of course, they have a call-in show. And because of the hatred that they've spewed towards people on the internet, sometimes people come back to bite them.
That's my question. Why is Fresh? Why is everybody up there? That's my question. Since you want to try to get an argument, you are. What you talking about, bro? You was a bro. like you got so much to say about black people not wanting motherfucking handouts from y'all, but your family came from another country, a country where y'all are y'all's own worst problems. You say black Americans is their own worst problems, but want handouts from the government.
Now, Myron responds with this.
You only attack blacks, and I go into all the other details, all the other people that I talked about. Then you go ahead and you change your position. Well, I only care that you talk about blacks. Well, hold on. That means your original argument doesn't make sense, because you came in here on the assumption that I only talked about black people. Then when I checked you and I told you, no, I actually talk about everybody, then it's, I don't care about blacks. Okay.
But here it gets worse.
And that's the problem with you. You probably got a degree from Howard or some other school, thinking that you're smart. You pseudo-intellectual dumbass. We was kangs. We invented everything. You're stupid, bro. That's the reality. You're dumb. That's the reality, man. Holy shit. The was right about a lot of y'all, man. You should be a tree, you bitch. Out of here, man.
Now I'm going to get to that very controversial statement at the end, talking about the Klan and the Klan hanging people and things like that. But I've noticed that, there is a market for blacks that speak like this. And even if they're not saying it as bad as Myron is saying, there is a group of black people who are trying to make money on the internet saying very similar things.
There was a guest on Piers Morgan, and he was talking to another black supremacist, that's what we call them. And he said black people don't like living around black people. And I agree with him. I don't like living around black people, right? They tear up they rob you, they steal from their own neighbor, people close to them. I remember I moved in a neighborhood, I was running for school board, and a black person out of my car was stolen for the first time ever. My Mercedes was stolen. They stole my car.
Now, let's go back and talk about this whole operation about the KKK was right about a lot of y'all. And then this other guy who agrees with he don't feel safe about black people. You can make this content as a black person or an African American, or maybe as what Tariq would call somebody that is a non-black or non-African American, or a tether, somebody that's not FBA. And some of your points could be valid about black crime. Some of your points could be valid about the mistakes that black people are making as a whole. But then you're trying to get accepted by a group of people ultimately who don't respect you. And people who are white racists still could appreciate the fact that you are saying this, but ultimately what they don't understand is that they will hear this.
We even asked this is like, if I kind of break the rules, just hit me up about it, guys, you know. And I agree with him. Like, we gain nothing. Like, one of these comes in, they talk nice. They're like, oh, look, white people deserve their space, and can't we just be friends and blah, blah, blah. But then later that night, they're just behaviour. You know, I think it was you, Comfy, that was speaking about that guy where he's like against the Jews and all that. And half an hour later, he's posting like, yeah, as many as you can, and just full behaviour.
Yeah.
Myron Gaines.
Yeah. Myron Gaines.
The worst thing he said was, don't marry a girl until you're 35. What a retarded thing to say.
Yeah, what an idiot. Stupidest thing ever, mate.
This is why we're talking. This is what we were saying yesterday. Like, at the end of the day, they're like you. They're low in control. Even if, you know, they say a few things that are based or whatever by our standards, don't fall for it. Don't think that they're on our side. Oh, based. You know, it just doesn't happen. You know what I mean, though? This is what people think, mate. This is what people think. No, it's what
but Myron Gaines.
Like,
Myron Gaines.
No,
Myron Gaines
like,
has how many followers did Myron Gaines has, just for fun?
Like 100,000 or something.
Based.
But that's the point. I think it's the only reason why some people listen to him. It's because he's a little bit known, but he's still a neck.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And come the end of the day, especially in somewhere like the States where they're just niggas everywhere, what you think these people are going to align, you think they're going to help you, they'll turn on you as quick as anything.
As fast as a...
Right.
Yeah.
They're niggas. Yeah, they're niggas.
Yeah.
Ultimately, other groups who love for you to talk like that are still going to differentiate between you. And even though you're telling the so-called truth about black people, they don't want to deal with you either. All right. They don't want you around their women because, again, you're also black. So when you're saying that the Klan should do X, Y, and Z, well, really what the Klan is including in that equation is you also. You believe that you're excluding yourself in the process, but the reality is you're including yourself because they have already included you because you're still black, all right? And they don't want anything to do with you either. Those people who talk about those issues. And what I want to talk about is the black world. Guys, I understand working with black people and dealing with black people is not easy. I understand that a lot of your trauma comes from the black community, whether it's in the African-American community or whether you're Caribbean, it comes from your community, or whether you're from Africa or an African country and it comes from there. I get it. It is hard working with your own group. However, having ownership within your community, you will get much more than when you're acting like this in somebody else's community who doesn't want you to be here. All right. Now, I could say that as a YouTuber, I may have had some more successes if I was in a different genre. But to be honest, being in black YouTube, I've gotten all the way to where I've gotten by working with my own community and leaving a lot of opportunities on the table. Okay, and I've done that over I don't know how many years. You get more when you're working with your people, with your group, and you get your respect from your community, and you don't have to go out and sell out and do what these people are doing, trying to get the least amount of butter biscuits from people who don't want you. Neither one of these guys will financially benefit from the community they want to be in because you're already doing this stuff for free. So why would they pay you? Why would they pay Myron or this other guy who's talking down on the black community, and you can't go back to the black community and get anything from your group, and you can't have any ownership in your community, even if it is violent, even if it is bad? You don't have any ability to clean it up. And the reason why investing in any black community, whether it's in the African community or African diaspora or in your own community, is that if you're successful, you can clean it up, okay? The white community or upper class communities don't necessarily need you there, right? And I'm not trying to say where you can or cannot live, but that opportunity is already taken. The opportunity is with your own group because you understand it and have problems. Are there going to be problems? Sure. Will people sometimes steal? Sure. Will people sometimes rob? Sure. Will that happen? Yes. But you know what? The greatest opportunity is that which is untapped, okay? Which is why a lot of investors wait for people to figure something out in Africa and let it get popping, or in the black community, and we can see it in hip hop and music and fashion. And then once you figure it out, then they come in and try to buy it from you. That's why it's valuable, okay? But talking about your own community while lifting others up as if they have no problems is what makes no sense, because they're never going to give you anything, and you still have less than what you had before by trying to make those truths, and they're still going to alienate you at the end of the day, which in my honest opinion means you are a legitimate crash out. And that is what Myron is, a legitimate crash out. If you're going to go ahead and talk down on FBA and wish all these hateful things, I mean, not only are you risking your own security and your own health by saying things like this, you absolutely get nothing from it, okay? You're not going to get a check. You're not going to get more followers. You're going to alienate more people. And the fact that you have to continue to do this is even bogus, and it's even crazy. But hey, what do I know? So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. I appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe, hit the bell. We're out.